Hello, I'm Coach Dave Palladino, and this is Coach Johnny Linden. We run Palladino Martial Arts, and today we're going to show you how to wrap hands the correct way for your fighters. The first thing you do is you loop the thumb, and when you loop the thumb with the loop of the hand wrap, you want the loop of the hand wrap to be nice and flat. No creases. You don't want it turned over. You don't want it flung like that over your fighter's thumb, because in the least it will make your fighter uncomfortable. At the worst, it could cut his hands up. The wrist is your anchor of this hand wrapping method. You come toward the little finger side. The fingers, anatomically speaking, are called phalanges. This is the number 1 phalange, 2, 3, 4, 5th phalange. You come toward the 5th phalange, the little finger side, and when you do that, allow the wrist to anchor, and you come the whole way around and down to the area, the opening between the little finger and the ring finger, the opening between the 5th phalange and the 4th phalange. You try to keep, as much as you can, you try to keep the wrap from creasing over. You don't want the wrap to do this kind of thing, or even little creases, because again, in the least, it will make your fighter uncomfortable. In the worst, it will cut his skin. Depending especially on the volume of punches and the impact of the punches he throws, it will cut his skin. And the more volume, the more impact, the worse he'll be cut up. You come around and create basically a racetrack, a loop. You're coming down this way, you're going back up to the same direction, through the same direction. You're creating a loop. It comes down, as you can see, it goes right back up to the same origination point. Again, you're up and coming around the wrist, which is your anchor. After you come between the 4th and 5th phalange, now you come between the 2nd and 3rd phalange, the other way, between the first finger and the middle finger. And when you do this, you're creating a crisscross pattern underneath. You come this way through. Now you create what I call a flagpole. You twist the hand wrap in the direction over top that the hand wrap is going to travel. And you want a pretty tight twist. There's a reason for this, always a method to Coach Palladino's madness. This will protect the extensor tendons between the 2 knuckles. As you can see, go like this, Coach. As you can see, Coach has a little white extensor tendon right there. He has one here, there's one here, and there's one here. This cushion, this very firm pad, buffers the space between those 2 tendons, between those 2 knuckles, and flattens out the surface of the hand. Always keep in mind that a boxer is the best puncher in martial arts. That's his game. And he punches very hard. To protect those extensor tendons and to keep them from getting dislodged, you create a flagpole and a flag. By the way, I keep the wrap over my shoulder as best I can because I don't want it to hit the floor. If we have someplace clean on which we can throw this wrap, that's great. If you don't, you want to throw it over your shoulder, because you don't want it getting dirty, because the wrap being dirty with your fighter's sweaty hands is unsanitary. Now the next part, you come around back to the anchor, the wrist, and come back down. You'll notice that I created a flagpole, and here's the flag coming across. I come back down through the space between the middle finger and the ring finger. 1, 2, 3, between the 3rd phalange and the 4th phalange. I come down now with the flag. And now I create another flagpole. Notice the hand wrap is coming this direction, toward the fighter's little finger, toward his 5th phalange. So I turn and create the flagpole over top toward that 5th phalange. And make it as firm as I can make it, and still keep it comfortable as best I can. I don't want to cover the extensor tendons. You'll notice that I do not cover the extensor tendon over the knuckle. What we want to try to do again also is to try to keep creases out of the hand wrap that's over the knuckle, over the top of the knuckle and over the hand, because if you have creases again like this and they crease up, it makes the fighter uncomfortable and it could cut his hand, and it's ineffective. So now you come through the same way I came down, loop down this way, I loop back up the same way now. I give another turn to make it nice and tight for the fighter. And I come back up around the same way. And don't be afraid to manipulate your fighter's hands, because you're defending this fighter. You're protecting this fighter, and he knows it. At this point, now you have good tight hand wrap. Now you tell your fighter to make a fist. He makes a fist. And you can see the buffer here, and this protection here prevents your fighter from getting cuts over the knuckle of his small finger and his ring finger. To make sure that your fighter is going to be okay at this point, and to make sure that you can continue, you wrap his hand and you ask him, any pings, any tings, any pains? Nope. No, sir, he doesn't have pain. So now we can continue. You reopen your hand, and the fighter reopens his hand, and now you come back around the wrist, and I'm doing the best I can to keep this off the floor. It's getting shorter now, so it's not so hard. I come back around the wrist. Now I come around and hold everything we've created together by coming around the wrist and down over the knuckle of the small finger. At that point, we come around and start wrapping the wrist. We wrap the wrist around. It's going around once. And depending on, you wrap it as much as you can, depending on how much hand wrap you have. This is good. This is going to be good. Nice and tight. You don't want to squeeze the blood flow out of your fighter's hand. But nice and tight, especially tight on the bottom. So you want to torque the bottom so the bottom's tight and come around, back up. Anchor it on the wrist once again, and there isn't a lot here. There isn't a lot here. I'm going to try it one more time. Down and around, see if we can get two. We don't want creases like that, so we get that crease out of there. No folds, no creases. And we come up. We may not have enough wrap to do the wrist. Yeah, I think we will have enough wrap. Okay. Yes, we will. We were able to go twice around Coach Linden's hand. Now, in the old days, we had hand wraps you had to tie off. You would bring them around, and they had strings, like shoestrings, and you would tie them. Well, we had to learn to do it with our teeth, and it was difficult, so Velcro hand wraps were developed. I think I want to give the credit to Ringside Products. They're the first ones I ever saw with Velcro hand wrap. At this point, the Velcro is facing down the wrong direction so that we cannot Velcro it. So what we'll do is, at this point, we can fold it over. A nice fold, just like you see there. There's no real crease. There's no crinkle. In other words, we don't have this. We don't have anything like that where there's a crease there and a crinkle. We want a nice, like a military fold, like you're making a bunk in the military, in the barracks. A nice fold with no creases, no curves, no twists, no turns. Nice fold, and you can bring it over at this point, and the wrap is Velcroed and secure. Now, make sure that you have your fighter's the bottom of his hand covered, the knuckles covered. What it's doing is it's holding this hand together, holding all these metacarpals and all these phalanges, knuckles together, so because when he strikes, the impact will go not only to the knuckles but to the flagpoles we created, and the flagpoles are going to push in and they're going to try to separate those knuckles from each other. This wrap keeps the knuckles together. Coach Linden's making a fist. That's exactly what we need to do right now. And you can see that the wrap goes over the knuckle, but not over the knuckle so much that you can't see the flagpoles recreated. You want to be able to see those flagpoles, and I go, and I can even tell that he has a rock on the end of his arm right now. Does it feel good, Coach?
Feels good.
He has a rock on the end of his hand. He says he feels good. He feels good. Open up, Coach. You can see that when he opens up, because we were firm and we pulled tight on the bottom, it doesn't come loose on the bottom. The whole way through the fight, he'll be covered, he'll be protected, he'll be safe, and he will perpetrate severe damage on his opponent, because now he has something like concrete at the bottom of his arm. With longer hand wraps, we can be even more creative. We can come around a few more times down here and come a few more times on the wrists and come a little higher. We will show you that on the next session.